Hello, friends. My name is Anishka Dragil, and I'm the owner and founder of my new opening business called Shui. And about, I don't know, maybe a month ago, I was really ready to launch this new business and was preparing. And then I realized, like with most things in my life, and maybe you can understand this, that I had way overestimated what I was going to do in the amount of time. So, how to roll everything back, put everything on pause, and start building my foundations and just letting it be that's going to take longer. So, today is kind of my first official coming out, so to speak, video post that I wanted to bring out to kind of like let people know, like, who is Anishka? What's the story, like what's this new business about, and so this is kind of an introduction. Maybe you know me, maybe you don't, and this tells a little bit about that. And of course I am a storyteller, so it's kind of in a little story form. So take the journey with me. And of course I call this story, it's the woman who came home to herself. And a long time ago, well, we'll start maybe not a long time ago, but I was introduced to feng shui and I immediately fell in love with it. It was like there was something that really resonated with me. So, how did I get here? I started with books. I started with the training with my dear friend Katie Lines and Taos through what was called the High Desert Feng Shui Institute, which later I bought and brought to Portland and created a 35 plus year business called the Portland Feng Shui Institute. But through all that study, I have spent my life like studying how energy moves through a space and how to decode spaces and so much more. But I then, the feng shui kept knocking on my door. So I began to train with masters, and I trained directly with His Holiness Master Thomas Lin in the Black Hat set, also called BTB. And that was a very extensive immersion training. I have traveled all through China in what was called a master immersion program, where I was studying in the temples and spaces across Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Putushan, and more, and the birthplace of where this came. And that was really a turning point in my career, because it's one thing to have theory and book learning, but when I actually went to China and studied there was like an osmosis process that happened for me where it began to go really deep into my cells. And I understood from the birthplace of feng shui, like, oh, this is what that means. And then I went on to study like the flying star, and I've done some compass with Lillian too. And then I've did more classical feng shui with Marie Diamond. And I met her through The Secret, the film that introduced, millions of us, millions of people to the relationship between quantum physics and consciousness and conscious manifestation. And that really brought a whole new level into my world and my business and kind of my, nerdy geek self. I also had read books and did training with Denise Lin in her Western intuitive lineage. And she really threaded in the Native American and the shamanic teachings. And then I also, have studied Ho'oponopono, and I have studied with actual shamans in the Native tradition. And all of this, if you look at it on paper, it kind of looks like a single straight path, but it wasn't. It was me, a woman, following that one glowing thread to the next, across decades and continents, and often without even knowing where it would lead me. But I just kept picking up that thread. And really, that is, in fact, the entire teaching of my life. And for me, it's like was very important to study all of it. I really wanted to deep dive into all the nooks and crannies of feng shui. And it's not really possible to, there's so much to it, but I did my best and it's led me here. But I had to, one of my big lessons, like I had to almost die before I understood that whole feng shui piece and picking up the threads and all of these teachings and trainings and where it's brought me. And the year that I met death was actually 11 years ago, almost to the date. May 18th, 2015, I started my treatment. I was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer where they found two tumors in my rectum. And I went through 8 weeks of chemotherapy and radiation. And most of that was spent in the hospital. I mean, there was a period of time inside that where I came so close to death that I had to really look it in the face. And through multiple times in my life, because of that, I stopped flinching. I learned in that hospital bed to face tremendous amounts of pain, to face suffering without escaping it, and to face my fears, my frail human feelings. The breakdown of my body was huge, and the parts of my soul that I had been working around for years. And I made peace with my mortality. I made peace with death and dying. And I'm not saying that casually, I really did. And in doing so, I made peace with something I had not expected to need to make peace with. And that's living. So I came back, and I am back 11 years later on the other side of this experience and this lifetime of experiences in a healthy body, choosing every day to live fully. Cancer did not teach me how to be afraid. It taught me how to stop being afraid of the wrong things, how to be present, and how, like I said, to really choose to be here, because that choice was almost taken away from me. And in that, I learned about, failure, right? So people ask me, what's your biggest fear? Expecting me to produce one. And I won't. I can't, because I don't believe in failure. Yes, I have judged myself and still do. I have put myself down. I have wished late at night that I had done 1,000 things better, sooner, differently, more bravely. But here is what I came to understand, and I hold it deeply in my heart and in my life and in my practice. A human being is by design a creature that learns through trying. This is not a flaw in the design. That is the design. The only way we can learn is by trying. And when we try to do things, we're not going to get it right. I mean, it's impossible to get it right all the time. So if we're hardwired then to make mistakes, then mistake, right, cannot be the same word as a failure. Mistakes then are like the alphabet, and failure is like the story that we put on top of, right? On top of it that we tell ourselves. So it's not a failure. It is a life design. We are designed for this. So everything I ever done then, every choice, every detour, every collapse, every illness, every restart has led me to who I am today, and I will not call it a failure. I call all of it a success, because it succeeded at the only thing a life is actually required to do. It brought me here. It brought me here, and then it's going to bring me there somewhere different tomorrow, and it's going to bring me somewhere else the next day. And all of it is moving me into an evolution design of a human being, right? An evolutionary shifting and changing of a human being. The thing that I did have to learn that came later, there were tons of things, but one of them was that I built my career on one simple truth. A space tells the story of who lives in it. So if you walk into any room, and the room will tell you what its inhabitant believes about themselves. It'll tell you what they value, what they are protecting, what they're avoiding, and what they wish they could let in, what they wish they could be, have more of. So you don't decode a room by adding more furniture or colors or shifting or changing. You can't decode something with adding more. You decode it by listening to what's already there and what's missing. And also, you can learn by what's working, what feels good. You can take both sides of that information and use it to decode and uncover what is right. So I taught this for years. I taught this and I helped women, men, families, business owners read their own spaces and rearrange them into these honest reflections of who they actually were becoming and remembering. And I watched homes transform. I watched lives transform with them. And I, have lovingly called myself a house whisperer because I can communicate with a house's soul and with the inhabitants, and I can decode things. And, it was a beautiful experience to have this intimate experiences with people allowing me into their inner worlds and helping them create what they really want, you know. And um but now it's like the whole thing is wanting to shift from these one-on-one relationships. I'm wanting to share this kind of experience with all of you so everyone can learn how to do this for themselves. You don't need me there. And that's the beautiful part too. And this whole time that I was working with people and decoding and doing this, I was doing the one thing. I was decoding also, but I was doing one thing that I taught no one else to do. And that was, I was trying to decode my own life by adding more rooms, by adding more things like more projects, more ideas, more books to write, more podcasts to launch, more platforms to learn, more lists. It's kind of like this octopus with this never ending arms of things to do. I would just give myself 1 month sometimes like this to do a 3-month job. And then when I couldn't finish it, guess what? I would prove I wasn't enough yet. And then I would add another room to make up for it. And that voice that said, rush, go, 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 and that voice that said, hi, you're not good enough. It was the same voice, but in two different costumes, right? And both of them said, you're not enough yet. And it took me until this year, really, truthfully, with starting this whole new business for all of this to kind of come full circle. And this isn't something I learned. I didn't learn it in the temples and not with all the masters I studied with and not with cancer. But this year, in this continued conversation with my own mirror, my own self, I finally understand that my house already had many, many rooms, right? I just, and they are actually furnished. The work was never, I'm realizing, to build more. The work was to walk through them and is to walk through them and to turn on the lights. That's what this means, right? And that's what I'm finding that this means for me. And so within this, what, like as you're listening to me talk, like maybe you find that there might mean something for you in what I'm, talking about here. And this is your chance maybe to recognize yourself somewhere in it. So let me speak directly to you for a moment, because you are probably like me. You're tired. And it's not the kind of tired that sleep is going to fix for us, right? It's that deeper kind, the tired of a woman who has been working very hard to earn a life that maybe you and we already suspected that we have the keys to, who we keep making these lists instead of making the thing, who has been told somewhere along the way that the way we move, the way we naturally move through the world, the way that we're intuitive, the way that, everything in our life is threaded room by room and energy led and magical, right? All of those things that, oh, well, that's not serious. That's not real. That's not enough to be trusted. That's not a credential. Well, I want to tell you what I had to be told. That voice that rushes you and that voice that hides you, they're the same voice. And both of them say that you are not enough yet. Or maybe your tagline is different. You're not lovable. You're not smart enough. You're too young. You're too old. Whatever that voice is, neither of them is telling you the truth because they're just not. And for me, it's like with those lists that I'm making and adding more rooms and not enough, the lists are not planning anymore. When it gets to that point, because real planning has a finish line, and I mean, we could do a workshop on that. Just what are the things in your life that never has a finish line? So what have you been doing that is postponing yourself that's dressed up in this costume? Well, you don't need more rooms. I don't need more rooms. We all, you, me, and what I want to bring to the world and teach is how we can just walk through the ones that we have and turn the lights on. That there is only one thread ever in your day that's glowing, and it's glowing right now. And you probably already know which one this is. And you have to do is pick it up. Pick up that thread, that golden thread every day. That small living version of you who has been carrying everything, whatever that is, and whatever you're wanting to create, however that looks, you deserve to be witnessed too. And that's the first thing is the witnessing and then picking up the thread, right? And then maybe before we pick up the thread and being witnessed, before anything else, we let you cry. We don't fix her. We don't journal her into some lesson. We just sit with her for a minute with ourselves because we have earned it. We have earned to sit with who we really are and then pick up a thread and move organically, authentically from that and not add more stuff, but then maybe how just to turn a light on where it's already created. And that is what I want to bring with this new work that I'm bringing to the world is to help people get there. So why am I telling all of you all of this? Well, because I almost didn't. I mean, there's a voice in me, maybe you too, that says, well, who needs another podcast, another book, another teacher, another this, another that, another woman with an opinion about how to live your life? I mean, there's millions, right? There's millions and millions out there, right? But what I have to say, and this is the other part of that then it goes into this dialogue. Well, what I have to say is irrelevant or it's stupid. It's not interesting. I mean, people are going to judge me. They'll troll, they will attack. The fear for me is then I will lose my family and friends because then I'm doing something that I'm happy and prosperous and strong and living my dream, or I won't be able to sustain it or lose myself in doing this. I mean, every one of those sentences I just named is a fear in a different costume. And I know because I just spent 40 plus years collecting them. A lot of them. I have bags of them. But here is what I know that I didn't know then. Okay, the world doesn't actually need another voice, right? And you're like, what? You just said the opposite. No, the world needs your voice, not another voice, your voice and my voice, the specific one, the one that has lived what it has lived and survived what it has survived and learned what only you could have learned by walking through your particular fire. No one else can hand that to anyone. I can't. You can't do my life and I can't do your life, right? Only you can do that. So I am picking up this thread right now, out loud, in public, right here in the world. I'm going to do it with my husband, Jim, beside me, walking beside me, helping me, turn the lights on in these rooms and maybe finish a little remodeling touches with an intern that's coming to help me carry these 47 years of journals and transmissions and writings and all of this content that I have collected through the years. And I'm going to be doing it with a podcast called Got Shui. and with, offerings of things and letters of light and, round tables. And I mean, there's just like this, I want to just open up and let it all come out to the world. And with the got shui, and the tagline, which is, you know, got shui, the house of many rooms, many ways, one you, come home to yourself, right? And that brand name was tagline I wrote even before I really understood that I was writing it about myself. And I love that. I love the serendipity. Come home to yourself. Many rooms. And that sentence wasn't a marketing tagline. No, it was an instruction. I just didn't understand or recognize who it was talking to until now. Me. And if you take one thing from this recording, I would, ask, let it be this. You're not behind. Wherever you are in your life, whatever you want, you are not behind and you are not late. And the house that you have built has many rooms and they are already furnished. You're just ready maybe to learn more about it and turn the lights on one at a time. That's the sentence that I have that is the one that actually even finally landed on me after everything else. So I offer it to you in case that this is maybe the one that you've been waiting to hear too, or anything that I've said here. And so when we're, done with this, just, I a heartful, like, put this down. And when you turn it off, look at what's glowing in your life. What thread is it? Or do you need to sit and witness yourself first? But then whatever that thread is, pick it up. Go find what's glowing in your life, right? And stay tuned. If you resonate with anything I've said, and, go below, subscribe on my YouTube channel. I will be giving ways to sign up for my newsletters. And there's a lot of exciting things that I can't wait to share with all of you in the world. And I just say until that time, and you will start hearing more from me very soon, like in a few weeks. Until then, I just send all my love and be well and follow your glowing thread. All my love. Be well. Anishka.